Here.
District 2, Ms. Joy Daigle. Here. District 3, Mr. Gary Dickinson. Here. District 4, Mr. Dale Wembley. Here. District 5, Mr. Errol Como. Police Chief, Mr. Alvin Venable.
Here.
Town Attorney, Mr. Brad Andrews. And Town Clerk, Mr. Todd Richard, is absent, and Ms. Sidney is going to take his place.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, do we have special guests? Guests are supposed to come? Okay, let's move on to the next item. Will be the reading and approval of the previous minutes from our regular meeting, August the 13th, and our special meeting, August the 28th.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the minutes of August the 13th and also August the 28th. If that's not correct.
Second. Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the July 2018 financial statements. Do I have a motion to approve the July 2018 financial statement?
I do so moved.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on the new business. Engineering report. There was no action items. The engineer report was emailed to the council, so no action on that. Okay, number 2 will be the municipal department report. The sewer department report, Mr. Keith Lejeune. If you look on page 3 in the packet, it's a resolution by council informing DEQ actions required will take place to maintain permits requirement as per LPDES permits. And we do have Mr. Lejeune present, who is our sewer supervisor, sitting in the back, if you would have any questions.
I'd like to compliment Mr. Dean on the work they do in the sewer department, because according to the report right here, we are 20 points better than we were last year, and we were in good shape last year, so keep, good job.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd also like to move that we adopt the resolution number 091018, which we have to do every year in compliance with the state. So I'm gonna make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any more questions, comments, discussion?
I have a quick question, Mayor.
Okay,
So basically, this resolution number 091018 basically states that we are resolving to maintain the pump stations, the preventive maintenance on the plant, the smoke testing and repairs, and the operator training.
correct. Any more questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next item on the municipal department reports, Mr. Roger Richard, building code inspector.
I don't really have a report, but I do want to read a letter that I put together. This took a lot out of me to write this letter, but I'm gonna read it out loud the best I can concerning code enforcement. We have spoke several times in the past concerning the following. Codes adopted by the state of Louisiana that shall be enforced by all municipalities and parishes. Construction codes adopted by the state of Louisiana is as follows. International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, International Existing Building Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Plumbing Code, National Electrical Code, International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. The only optional code is the International Property Maintenance Code. The only code that is optional on this list is the International Property Maintenance Code. I feel this time we at BCIS have only the support of the town administrators. We do not have the support of all the council due to the political atmosphere that exists within this town. I feel that I am being used as a political punching bag by those that are still wanting or willing to let the town remain as it has been in the past years. I have been threatened, cursed at, called every name in the book for trying to do what I understood the town citizens and council and administrator wanted. At this time, until the citizens of Church Point and the council decides where they want to lead this town in the future, I will only be enforcing the codes required by the state of Louisiana in order to keep the town within compliance of state laws. I will not be giving any further updates to the council on the property maintenance code and town ordinances that I have been asked to enforce until the citizens of Church Point and the council can give BCIS directions and support needed. The enforcement of property maintenance is a very difficult duty that we have been asked to do. It is up to the citizens, the council, and the town administrator to lead this town in the future. I was born in 1950, just a few miles down the road in the Branch area. I can remember this town when it was thriving and a proud community. I can see what has happened in the past 50 years in this town due to the lack of code enforcement. Many areas in the town has fallen into disrepair due to the lack of maintenance. I sometimes do not, if something is not done to alleviate the deterioration of structures, I would hate to see what the town will look like in another 50 years. I truly don't believe this is what the town citizens want to leave to their children and grandchildren. It's up to you, the citizens of this town, to speak to your representatives. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. In response to Mr. Cooney's letter, I understand both sides of what we're going through, and I've heard both sides. As Mr. Andrus has pointed out, Mr. Cooney is an honest man and has worked with many municipalities, which he told me was 14 municipalities. Okay? He is trying to help Church Point, even though some people think not, but he's trying to help us with this state mandate. It is a state mandate, people. He is up to date as far as his classes. Every year he has to renew classes and so forth. So, and he's only one of a few inspectors that we have in the area. And as he told me that the last previous meeting that we had, there's only a few inspectors left in the state. And he is one of the few that's in this area. He is trying to prevent us, people, and I'm just saying, he's trying to prevent us from losing funding. And that is what's going to happen in this town. We're going to lose funding. Already, we have a phone call that's been received from the state saying the $427,000 that we received, make sure you don't do anything, don't start payment until you get into code. I'm just repeating what they told us. Okay? We need to listen to this with open minds and listen to what he has to say about this, because I hate to see this town just go to nothing. And I understand, like I said in the previous beginning of this, my little talk, that I listen to both sides. I'm not one that's just gonna say, hey, we need, let's do it, or let's not do it. This is a state mandate. And we shall do this. I mean, they said you have to do it.
Do we have any other options or any other inspectors? His comment last week wasn't too cool. He told me, call me so I can tell you. You don't hear that from, I mean, that's stupid to say something like that to somebody.
Mr. Cooney, are there any other options that you know of, that people, inspectors are living around this area?
I don't give him a hard time, but the way he talks to people with disrespect, I get chewed out too. Everybody that got business gets chewed out.
Okay.
You gotta be professional sometimes. You know, he inspected mine, I was happy with it. He did everything. But I'm listening to him talk to like that, not a joke, that was uncalled for.
Okay.
Tell him to call me so I can tell you. That's really, that's not professional at all.
Okay, Mr. Cooney?
Me and Toby have a weird relationship. That's okay. We have a weird relationship, I'll say that for what it's worth. The but is your other options in this area that do what I do, and I mean property maintenance, none. I wish you luck. That's why I work for 14 or more municipalities, because I'm willing to take on property maintenance. Try to get Ron Larson to do this. Try to get 24/7 to do this. Try to get parish inspectors to do this. Ain't gonna happen. They will enforce to a limit with the state mandates. And that is it.
Well, I think you need to write something up that, what are you gonna do? What type of inspection? Because I know what it calls for. 95% of houses in Church Point won't pass inspection. I know that.
That is the problem, and I'm finished. I'm not here tonight to argue.
No,
I'm dead serious.
That's what I'm telling you, to write it. What are we to expect when you come to somebody's house?
That's why, if you don't know what to do, don't expect me to teach you. And I'll finish it like
You
that.
understand.
I am not in the teaching business. I did it in my career. I taught carpentry. I taught at the VOTEC schools. I am not here to teach people how to wire houses, how to build houses, and how to plumb houses. It's my history.
I didn't ask you that at all.
Well, what did you ask me then?
If we need an inspector on an old house, what needs to be done to pass inspection?
That's what the property maintenance code book is all about.
So you want me to buy a code book?
Might be worth it.
Okay, now, let me just go back, I'll come back.
All right.
In 2007, this is when this code thing was adopted. In 2010, the Church Point received money from the state to do this. Now, I know I took office in 2015. So this should have been going on from 2010 to 2015. And it was not put into effect, period. So all the burden falls on me, the council, and people that are involved in here. So that's why, it's making us, me, the council, and whoever, look like bad guys. And like I said before, people, when this was mandated by the state, they're looking at, we want our funding back. So, mean, what is it?
Mayor, if you remember, last week or week before last, you had a special call meeting. The meeting before that, Mr. Cooney stood right there at the podium and told us that the ordinance that was put in was not in the fire marshal's book. It was not in the rules and regulation of the state of Louisiana. This is something that he implemented to the council and the mayor. Now, my understanding, last week, when you had your meeting, that you had passed all of your codes that you were supposed to pass. The only thing that was tabled is the inspection of rental property that Mr. Cooney had been pushing from the first time I came to this meeting. And that is not in the rules and regulation or the fire marshal's book. He stated that himself. So the only thing I see as a landlord is that he's trying to make money off of the people that have rent houses. And I don't think that's fair. How can you inspect rent houses and not inspect your house or my house that I live in? You understand? How can he get up here and discriminate against certain people in this town? Because he says so. I don't think that's right. And I never criticized Mr. Richard, not one time. What I said in open meetings like this, and I'll say that again and again until somebody realizes that he stated, and go back to humanity if you don't believe what I'm saying. He stated himself that this was something that he implemented. It's not a law that comes from the state. We're not arguing over a law that comes from the state, man. We're arguing over something Mr. Richard put in the book. And he wants to pass it over to people of Church Point. And I cannot believe that he does this everywhere that he represents the town or the municipality or whatever he represents. I cannot believe that he go there with this kind of attitude. That's all I have to say.
At our last regular, our special meeting, we did adopt the policy that the state,
That's correct.
what the state required, we
Yeah.
did adopt the policy.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Brad, if we adopted the policy, do we need to write up an ordinance to adopt the ordinance? State ordinance.
It was done in 2007.
What about the fee schedule? Because I think that's where we're all aiming, and that's what a lot of the concern is. We adopted that, but the fee schedule, how long has it been since we have the fee schedule that we're going by now?
It was adopted recently, I think it was privacy.
When you do agreement with y'all, that's when you adopt the policy.
And when was that, Mr. Coon, do you have any idea?
A year ago, so Brad?
I think that's where a lot of our,
In the last year.
yeah.
Mr. Richard? I just want to share, and this is just my opinion. I was not here, unfortunately, for the special meeting. I feel badly that, sir, that you feel you're being used as a political punching bag. It should ever be used as a political punching bag. It is my opinion, however, that I think that this issue just happened to come up during a time that is political season. But I disagree. I don't think that you're being used intentionally as a political punching bag. I also feel badly that you've been threatened, cursed at, and called every name in the book for trying to do what you understood the towns of Citizen, et cetera, wanted. And no one should have to face that kind of abuse when they're in the line of doing their job. But I think if we're gonna also look at this from a big picture, we're talking about going way back in 2007, right? And then I also heard someone say 2010. We're in 2017. 18, excuse me, 18. My concern is, and I think I speak for the rest of the council, and that is when the council was forced or was asked to act and vote on the fee schedules and the particular things that you were going to be doing as it relates to the codes. You have to understand, Mr. Cooley, that we represent the constituents, all right? So everyone here probably have some landlords.
Just sit down and.
Hey, Marty, hey, get out of here.
I just got here, you got thrown out already. Thank you. We just simply seem a lot more required. Snap the scene that doesn't get out of here. Yeah, it
Dane, go ahead.
As I was saying, Mr. Richard, and that is, I think it's rather unfair that all of us, including myself, that we're having to all of a sudden force these codes, the fees, and the expectations down the throat of so many of our landlords in our community. Because I've never held back on my feelings. I think that landlords should be considered a part of the business community because of the resources, et cetera, that they bring to our community. But if we're talking about going back, way back to 2007, even 2010, the story, and the mayor, you and I had this conversation before this meeting, the story about the inspections, the codes, the fees, etc., should have been told to the community, the landlords, back in 2007, back in 2010. So here we are in 2018 saying, you know, landlords, you gotta do this. You had better do this. Because I think that's where you're probably getting a lot of that, you know, all that stuff you're getting. I think it's unfair. I do. I think it's unfair that we should expect our landlords all of a sudden to make all these drastic changes under such short notice. And I don't blame the landlords for this. I blame whatever administration was in power in 2007 and in 2010, because it should have been at that time that the story should have been told. That landlords in our community should have been told then that, hey, there's some new codes, start preparing for them. That's my opinion. One last thought, sir. Mr. Richard, I understand you're frustrated. I'm frustrated in dealing with this too. And I think I speak for the entire council when I say we just want to have this situation resolved, move forward. But we can't do that invoking our own personal beliefs. We represent constituents in districts, and they come first. So, sir, when you say I will not be giving any further updates to the council on the property maintenance code or town ordinances that I have been asked to enforce until the citizens of Church Point and the council can give BCIS directions and support needed. Mr. Richard, we've worked well together. And I know you're not suggesting being insubordinate. In fact, I trust that is not what you're saying. Because I'm sure you understand when I say that as a council, Mr. Richard, we must know the codes. We must. That's the only thing. That's the only way that we can make valid decisions. We must be informed. So I certainly, sir, hope that you change that particular thinking and understand that as a council, we are here to work with you. We want to resolve it. But what comes to us first are our constituents. They're the ones who put us here, and they're the ones we represent. I have no further thoughts on the issue.
Thank you.
If you allow me to answer a few things,
Go right ahead, sir.
and like I said, I work 14, 15 different municipalities, and yes, I do this. When I say this, enforce the codes. I have mayors, and I don't want to name names, administrators that was elected in some of the towns that are smaller than this one,
Yes, sir.
that came to me and said, Cooney, I may be a mayor for one term, and several council, I may be a councilman for one term,
Yes, sir.
but I will clean this town up. If the citizens don't like it, they can vote me out. One particular mayor, third term, no opposition whatsoever. If I'd have took a picture of that town 5 or 6 years ago, and again today, you can see the changes. So that's what I mean by the citizens have to tell the council. Council can tell me, what do you want your town to look like in 50 years? You said something about you need to know the codes. Well, Mr. Jean, it took me 5 years of testing to know the codes. Every one of these code books that's listed, that's a test that I had to go. I worked for Lafayette Consolidated Government for 3 years. I was taking these tests and nobody knew I was taking them. Because I was an ex-contractor for 30 years, I knew what it took to succeed. And if I wanted out of Lafayette, if I wanted to become a building official, this is what I had to do. Night studying, day studying, my wife reading me code books. So it ain't something I can sit up here and teach y'all the codes. That's why you hired me, to enforce the codes. If you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something else about being insubordinate. I am not being insubordinate. Only thing I'm telling you, I think we need to put the property maintenance code book on hold until the citizens decide what they want to do. Do they want to clean this town up, or they want to leave it as is? If you want to leave it as is, I'm more than willing, if y'all want to keep me on, and that's an option to y'all, to enforce what the state mandates us to enforce before they come down on the town, like they have done other ones. Now, I want to also go back to Mr. G. Mr. G, you're right. The state does not enforce anything to do with residents. The state has no jurisdiction whatsoever with residents. Only commercial buildings. What you misunderstood was something that I was trying to throw out an olive leaf. Once your residence was inspected, I was trying to figure out a way to grandfather you in for a while. But that went over like a lead balloon. I even came here last meeting and presented something that I would do it free. That went over like a lead balloon. And yes, I do have a temper. To the gentleman that's in the front row right there. When I am being hammered for trying to do my job and people want to fight me, I'm going to try to explain to you the best I can, and I'm finished with it. What, Mr. G?
Okay, you said free. When you said free, you said that the first $50 I didn't have to pay. But then when you gonna come back the second time, it's gonna cost me $100.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so where is it free at?
I am giving you the chance to hire an electrician, get him over there to your rent house, and check everything out. And if that electrician, or anybody that knows enough about electrical, can pretty much assure me that that house is good, it's good to go.
But then when,
Free, but that's over with.
when you or your inspector's gonna come back, and you know as well as I do, and I'm far from having the education that you have, you can go to any building, you can find something wrong with this building right here. There's something that wasn't wired exactly to code back when it was built, and you know that. So don't tell me you can't find something wrong with anybody's house. And when you go get the mine, you gonna make me spend $10,000 on my house.
I have a question. I'm a little bit confused. It's my understanding from your statement just now that the state has adopted all of the codes which are mandatory to all the municipalities except for the property maintenance code, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
So when you're going to inspect the electrical in a house, is that part of the electrical code or the property maintenance?
Electrical code.
Okay, because because it keeps getting used
Electrical
both
code.
ways. So what does the property maintenance code go beyond the electrical code?
Property maintenance code has to do with the maintenance of a home.
Like a roof or the
Well,
electrical system or all of
The,
the above?
the maintenance of a home, and I don't know how to explain maintenance. The code book says the house is supposed to be maintained as it was when it was built.
Okay.
Now, right around town, are they like they were when they were built?
You talking about maintenance in terms of deterioration or upgrading
Yes.
code or what?
No, no upgrade. You're grandfathered in.
Okay.
If that house was built in, what, 1880, it's grandfathered into the 1880 if there was such a code then.
Until it changed ownership?
Nope, has nothing to do with changing ownership.
Okay.
When it changes ownership and the power is cut off, and I tried to explain this umpteen times, you don't believe me if the power's not cut off. There's such thing as a name transfer. I can buy your house, you never cut the power off, it's a name transfer. Once that power's cut off though, Entergy wants it inspected because the Entergy don't want the liability of turning it on when we're supposed to be enforcing codes. It's kind of that simple.
Okay.
There.
So
But-
with that being said, I agree with Mr. G. I don't think anybody here is fussing about the enforcement of state law and the mandate that y'all have to follow. I don't think that's the issue. I think the simple issue is the logistics of how it's going to be accomplished, okay? The only thing I'm gonna tell y'all is I'm gonna reiterate what I said at the special meeting because some of you weren't here. My concerns with what was on the table at the special meeting, as I understood it, was that you would be allowing a renter to come and purchase an inspection or a permit, whatever it is, whatever logistically you call it, to have the electricity turned on without the approval of the landlord. I think that's a safety violation in itself, maybe not per code, but for example, let's say we rewire the rent house, and the box looks pretty and passes whatever inspection Mr. Cooney has to do, but in the meantime, we change our minds and we're doing something in the back that he doesn't know about. The electricity gets turned on, my rent house burns, guess who I'm coming to look at? I don't think a renter has the authority to have that done on the landlord's property without the landlord's permission. And I think if you do that, you're opening yourself up to a big can of worms. Now, not trying to undercut it and say we shouldn't do it, trying to find a way to do it so that it's acceptable to everyone and keeps everybody out of hot water.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Cooley. Okay. Moving on. Okay, requests. Liquor license exemption for OLSH. I'm sorry. You take that back. We have a special guest. We have Mr. Bob Henskins, candidate for state senate. Mr. Henskins, would you like to say a
Thank
few
you,
words?
Mayor, and I'm a little late. I was at the Kington City Council, and I got on later in the agenda than I thought. I apologize for being late, but it does remind me of my days as a mayor. And it's a great thing because y'all are so much closer to the voters sometimes than we are. And y'all get to hear their thoughts and be in the same room with them while you're discussing those thoughts. And that's the greatest part of democracy you can get. And y'all just had it in here a while ago. So I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Bob Henskins. I am from Gaydon. I'm a state representative now down in Vermilion Parish in Cameron. Jonathan Perry recently won a judgeship. He was y'all senator up here. I am running for senator in this district. Y'all may know my little brother Brian. He works at the nursing home and has for the last 12 years. Family is from Branch. This is where we're from. Just moved down to Gaydon when I was young. So, again, I'm not the guy who's going to give long speeches. I'm not a comedian like Jonathan. I do this one-on-one. And we're German, right? There's no funny Germans. There's no such thing. So I do this one-on-one. It's how I do it at the Capitol. It's how I do it here. When y'all call, I will be there. I take all of my citizens' concerns very to heart. My public officials, I jump as quick as I can. I used to be a mayor. My sheriff back home last, he said the rest of the delegation, when he calls, says, let me look into it. And I say, I'm gonna take care of that. And it's because I know, as a council, as the mayor, y'all already going through your due diligence. Y'all didn't call me on the first spot. Y'all will look through this yourselves, and I know there's something I need to take care of for y'all. And I also know, being a former mayor, y'all are closer to the public than I am, and y'all understand their needs and their concerns. So I look forward to serving y'all. I ask you, as a good Catholic boy who takes voting as almost a sacrament, I'm asking for the votes of the community of Church Point, and I'm asking for their support. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next request. It's a license exemption for OLSH Annual Autumn Fest under the Oaks to be held Sunday, October the 28th at 114 B Avenue Street on Church grounds.
Second.
Any discussion or comments? Any discussion or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next thing is reports announced by the mayor. First of all, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, there will be a 9/11 ceremony at the museum. Everyone is invited to attend. And basically that's all I have. Okay, closing comments from the council, Mr. Nava?
No comments, thank you all for, oh, I think Mr. Harold
I'm
has
sorry,
to do
Mr.
this.
Harold. Yes.
First, I wanted to publicly thank our Vice President, Joseph Monroe, for taking my place last month. And I know that there were some time constraints at the last meeting, but I wanted to make sure I pointed out to you that we should all hold our head up high, because the Presbytery was visited by Tulane University Master of Preservation Studies, Mrs. Lauren Walker, and she's going to feature the Presbytery in an encyclopedia of historical architecture, so we'll have a little entry. I'm very happy about that. In addition to the 9/11 Memorial tomorrow at 9 a.m., I invite all alumni and interested parties to come to the Presbytery for a homecoming reception on Friday the 21st from 9:30 to 1. And any alumni, any classes celebrating reunions are invited to come by the Presbytery, have lunch on the porch, or have their gathering there. And also, in addition to our regular program for the fall, I wanted to mention two other things that are, well, a couple of other things that are happening. The Woodmen of the World is sponsoring through their organizations a fundraiser for the View Depot, which of course is not the Presbytery, but it kind of falls under the cultural district. Also, this coming November, there's going to be the Acadia Parish Familiarization Tour, which will stop at the museum. The best way to explain it, it's going to be a tour bus full of tour guides, so it'll be a good chance to show off our area. And in particular, we'll be developing a pamphlet rack card that will feature our local sites and entertainment places. So the reason why I mention it now is because anyone you know that has a business in Church Point is invited to contact me and get mentioned on that pamphlet card. And by the way, the Church Point News is the paper of record, right? So read all about it in the paper, read it or be left out. And finally, final initiative that, thanks to suggestions, is that we want to encourage our young people. We're going to have an initiative to write letters to the different principals in the area, invite them to spend a day in Church Point and see the museum and the playground and have lunch. And I always think about Miss Joy and how she got those teachers to send some second graders over. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And as always, we welcome your suggestions. So thank you.
Excuse me, you said you had a tour bus that would be,
Tour bus full of tour guides.
if y'all need any type of escort, anything, you know, traffic control, just let me know.
Thank you.
Still. When is this?
It's in on, they're going to be coming to Church Point on Wednesday, November 14th, from, they'll have a 45-minute stop, 1:45 to 2:30, but I'll keep you updated as the months go by. So,
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Malvo.
No comment, other than thank everyone for coming out tonight, and of course, be careful driving home in this nasty weather.
Dawn?
I want to thank Mr. Keith. I'm not quite sure how we got those extra 20 points, but thank you, Mr. Keith. I know it's definitely something that you, through hard work and dedication, I appreciate that. And Mr. Matt, that building is looking really nice on Main Street. I'm pretty nosy. I'm ready to go look inside.
come on, whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. And thank everyone for coming out. Mr. Cooney, somewhere around, some fine line's gonna be fixed. We all gotta work together. This is our little town and we all want what's best for it. We know that things like that we have to hit those, I guess, those bumps in the road to come together, but it has to be done on the end. So thank you for your time. And good night, everybody. Be careful going home.
Thanks for coming. I just want to say, I want to apologize for missing the last meeting. I'm not big on missing meetings. I haven't missed a lot in the last 20 years. We had a scheduled vacation. I had all my grandkids on the beach. We had one ER visit, a broken arm. Everything's fine. He played football this weekend. But thanks for coming, and we're gonna move this town forward.
Just about the same as Mr. Duplashan said. Appreciate y'all coming. Appreciate your input. Looking forward to working with Mr. Richard and the other council members to come up with a plan that we can all live with.
Amen.
Thanks everybody for coming, and thanks everybody for participating in the quarterback club auction, the Booster Club auction. I think they did very well. Thank y'all for donating y'all money, y'all time, and y'all, especially all the auction items that we did get. We probably need to do something to move our little town forward, and I know we can find a way to write an ordinance up that's gonna be feasible for everybody, which we need to do. And the only thing is, anytime that the state mandates something, it all the time talks. So I mean, that's the way it's been for the last 25 years that I can remember. Anytime the state's gonna mandate you to do something, it's gonna cost you some money. I mean, and Mr. Ball's been there a long time. I know he can vouch for what I'm telling you, but we just gotta work our way through it. That's it. But thanks everybody for coming, and be safe on your way home.
Stop.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'd like everyone that's possible to attend this ceremony tomorrow morning. Thank you for what you do.
Anyone from the public? I'd like to thank Mr. Haskins for coming, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay. You all have a different motion? Yeah, thank you, Mark, for sitting there. Okay. No,
I'm only to Brad.
I only want to see the Lord make you good point again, Lord. Very good
Thank you,
point.
Brad. Such a jump.
Did you tell me to be quiet? Okay. You have a motion, a second to adjourn the meeting?
I move that the meeting is adjourned.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. All in favor?
Okay.